And welcome back. Well, quite often we've talked about fraud and scams on this program over the years. We have a gentleman on today, Lynn Edgington.
Yes.
Did I pronounce that right? And you are Eagle Research Associates, and this is something that you specialize in. So first, welcome.
Thank you.
And second, tell me about Eagle Research Associates. How did it form and why it's there? And it's a nonprofit, right?
That's correct. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show.
Sure.
Eagle was actually started incubating in 2004. I'm from Indiana, and I had a pastor friend of mine who called me and he said, I've got a problem and I need your help. And so consequently, after he explained to me what the situation was, he had about half of his congregation in something and they wanted the other half him in, and they also wanted to put their church building funds in. So he told me what it was about, and I said, I have no clue what you're talking about, but I can go find out. So he gave me a lot of information to help me go research it, and I got on the internet, and it was a wake-up call. I had been very familiar with all the different Ponzi's that were run, what we call the dog and pony show, where they rent a hotel room, etc. But I should have realized that it was on the internet. I didn't realize how proliferated it was on the internet. And so after about 4 days of research, which was unreal to me, I went back to him and I said, Pastor, tell your people that are in it to get out. The people that are not in it, you don't, and don't put your church building funds in this. This is a straight up Ponzi. It cannot last. It's going to collapse. So conversely, he carried that news to his congregant, and unfortunately, the ones that were in it weren't too happy with that piece of information.
Yeah.
Fortunately, some of them got out, some of them didn't, and within 6 months, it had totally collapsed. And so literally worldwide, about $750 million was taken.
Wow.
Had over 750,000 people in it worldwide.
That's amazing.
So that's the reach of the internet, and that's why it's so. This is why it's so insidious, is because you can do it from the comfort of your home. It really doesn't take much for you to steal a lot of money in a very short period of time.
Yeah, and as I know, you authored a book, and it's entitled "Robbing You with a Keyboard Instead of a Gun: Cybercrime. How do they do it?"
Yes.
And this happens all the time, and there's many different ways that it happens, particularly in the form of emails that you get. I got one literally this morning about some relative, and they've got a big estate and all that kind of stuff. And,
yes.
They had the last name right, but I could tell right away. But that's how good that they get.
Well, actually, they're getting more sophisticated. Usually in the early years, the emails, the grammar was terrible. Today, they've wised up. They're actually getting better people that can actually write and converse in English because it's not their first language. Most of these originally they came from Nigeria. They were called the Nigerian 419 email scam, which is ironic because the 419 is the actual penal code in Nigeria that says this is illegal.
Oh, that's funny.
But it was kind of an irony for us to see that name. But we now have them coming from Thailand. We have them coming from Korea. We have them coming from all over Indonesia and Malaysia. They're coming from everywhere. Georgia, Latvia, some of the Eastern Bloc countries. It's not just strictly Nigeria anymore that's doing this, but they're all out of the country, and once you send the money, it's gone. Just forget it. You're not going to be able to trace it because it's not traceable. But the ones that really, truly, as you mentioned, the thing that I really want to warn the seniors that are watching the show about is the easiest one to fall for is the bank phishing email.
Right.
And they will make you believe that it is your bank. In fact, if you click on the link they provide you, you will go to a website that looks identical to the bank that you do business with. And these are so good that even the former FBI director, Richard Mueller, came within 3 clicks of being able to be a target and a victim of this. So my comment to everybody is, if you think it can happen to you, think again, because he came really close. And he admits this. I mean, he spoke to the American Bar Association and told the situation, the scenario, as to how good they really are. But the things you need to understand is your bank is never going to send you an email with a link in it to tell you that there's urgent, your account's being frozen. None of that's going to happen. They may send you an email and tell you to contact customer service, but they are not going to give you a link to click on. And what happens is when you click on that link, while you're on that site, you're entering all your banking information you do online. While you're doing that, they're at your real bank website, your account, and they're putting your password in. And the first thing they do is they go in and they change the email address because they don't want a confirmation coming back to you that something has been done. The second thing they do is they change your password so you can't get in. So when the phone call's over, or the email when you're on the phone, sometimes they have you call, but usually you're online and then they have you to call backwards. It's always a follow-up call that comes after that. They keep you hooked long enough for them to go in and steal all your account information. So that's critical that you don't click on those links.
Right.
And it's real simple to do. If you're on a Mac, you put your cursor over where the link is, and on the screen, your URL is going to pop up. And you should see www.Bank of America or Chase, whatever the bank is, first. After that dot, whatever's there first is where that's being directed to. Usually you'll see a bunch of letters, symbols, and numbers, and way over on the right-hand side, you'll actually see the name of your bank. So it tells you immediately it's a fake site.
Right.
But as I said, the best thing is delete it. It's not real. If your account was urgent, the bank would have probably called you. They would not have sent you an email with a link in it. So that's the big one that's happening right now through email. But there are other things online that you can easily be caught up in, and sadly, these are the ones that your friends and family members are going to get you involved in because they got in.
Right.
Somebody referred them in. And so they get into, and the biggest one's happening right now in the senior community as well as the other communities at large in affinity frauds, is what we call the cash gifting. And this is just the old chain letter that, you know, it's convenient to do it online. It's so much easier. You don't have to pay postage. It's so simple. And you just refer other people in, and you send $50, they send $50, and you're supposed to get wealthy overnight. They always quote Title 26 of the IRS code. That is a real title of the IRS code. Unfortunately, they leave out one important sentence, and that important sentence says this: you cannot gift any money in which you expect a return on your giving. Well, if you're putting $50 in expecting to get $250 back, that negates cash gifting being legal. And so they always have about 1% truth, and the rest of it is all a lie. So those are the two big ones that are happening on the internet, especially targeting seniors. But the ones that are really insidious is what's happening over their phone. Because now they've gone to the phone. And what they're doing is we have what we call the fake jury duty, IRS. My grandson is in jail and needs money to get out of jail. Those are the ones, and they usually do that late at night because they want to wake you up so you're not thinking clearly. But the jury is that they call you and tell you you missed jury duty and you have a subpoena out for your arrest, and if you don't wire XYZ dollars within the next 4 hours, you're going to be arrested. They use fear, and they scare you, and that's the intent behind it. So we have those. The latest one that's going around is they call you because you're seniors, usually you're home. So they'll call you and tell you that they have a package that's supposed to be delivered to you. They want to make sure you're going to be home in an hour. And you tell them yes, and sure enough, in an hour, a delivery man comes to the door, and he has a basket, and he has a bottle of wine with you. So he hands that to you, and he says, all I need is I have to have $3.50 to cover the cost of the delivery. That's all it is. And you want to give him cash, he can't take cash because he has to have a transaction receipt. So he hands you one of the card readers. You put your ATM card in or your credit card in, you pay it, you sign it, and you go away and you think everything's hunky-dory. And oh, by the way, when you ask who sent it, you're always going to get a card in the mail that's going to tell you who sent it. But it was a thank you gift. And so you're all happy, and 3 days later, your bank calls you and tells you your account's been deleted. Because they've taken all the money out of it. What happens is when they run it through the card reader, it takes every piece of information off your metal strip on the back of your card, and they literally have a duplicate of your credit card, and they're out charging up thousands and thousands of dollars. We always make the comment, they live better than you do. Because it's your money. But that is the latest one that's starting to make the rounds. Just as we thought we had seen it all, now we have the virtual kidnapping. And what happens is you're called, and your son or grandson was in an accident, and unfortunately the accident they were in, that was involved with a drug dealer. They're not going to go to the police because they don't want the police involved in their business, but he's okay. But in order for them to be able to be released, you have to wire them XYZ dollars to cover the damages of the car. And once you do that, they'll release them and everything's fine. So now we have virtual kidnapping added to the list. So they're getting creative with the stories that they're coming up with, but those are the things. And the IRS scandal, people think that can happen to you. There's over 3,300 people here in Orange County that fell victim to this. And they sent out hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, it was, I think the last report was like 3.3 million and climbing, because we're in tax season. So that's a primary one that they're hitting you with now.
Oh, wow. They just keep going and going. And like I said, I get these myself, I would say probably a couple times a week, something like this.
You're lucky. You're only getting it a couple times a week. Most people are getting it 50, 60 times a week.
It's, that's a lot more than that I'm getting. And you can see all the things you need to watch out for. Your website is eagleresearchassociates.org. And from there, people can go and get information on these type of scams,
They can.
read about them?
And if they have any questions, we have a contact link where they can get in touch with me. They
Okay.
can call me. They can send me an email, however they want to reach out. If you're unsure, we want you calling and asking. So
Yeah.
we can walk you through the process and explain to you. If you have become a victim, we can tell you what you need to do immediately so you can become less of a victim.
How did you get into this all these years ago?
Well, basically from my pastor friend. I started researching it in 2004.
So you weren't in that
No.
an investigative business
No,
before that?
not at all. And I had 22 years of business consulting. I
Okay.
had 22 years in the financial services industry in all different forms. And so I understand what's real and what's fake. But what shocked me was the fact that I formed Eagle because of two reasons. One, how gullible people were and how uneducated they were about investments. And these are people that are highly educated.
Yeah.
Surprised me. The second reason was FBI moved 1,800 of their white-collar crime agents from that division over to Homeland Security, then in replace of one in 2007. And when that happened, the people that helped me form Eagle said, we got to do something about this. And so that's why we formed Eagle.
All right, so eagleresearchassociates.org, you can get information there. And I'd like to thank you for coming on, Lynn, and we'll see you again, I'm sure, sometime. And
I look forward to it.
Just be careful out there, and I think the first order of business is don't believe it first, and then you can go from there. Good to see you.
Thank you. My
right.
pleasure being here.
All right, we'll be right back.